This demonstration is going to illustrate the speed at which an item bank can be added to Prov's archive system, and tests can be generated from this item bank without actually having any of the data currently in the system. What I've got in front of me here is a series of sample items that I prepared, and the topic are trees, seeds, and nuts. And so what I have here is a series of 9 items where I have a stem, an option A, B, C, D. I have a key. One of the items has a graphic name, and then I also have different topics and a reference and the page number, etc., and the status of the items. So what you'll find in the system is that what you'll find almost in any item banking system is that it takes a long time sometimes just to structure your items to get them in the system. But once you've done that, the rest of the process is actually very quick. What I'm going to demonstrate is a process of getting an existing item bank that is already structured into the system and create tests. What I'm going to do first is I have to add reference information. I have to add these topics or the codes or the tags in the system so that when I enter them, the system recognizes them as being legitimate codes. So I've got these already set up here, and I could have a list that I prepared, and I'm going to come into my system here under topics, and I'm just going to add these topics. Now, our database system is built on an Oracle platform, and a lot of these cells act very much like Excel. You can just copy and paste data from a spreadsheet directly into the system, which really speeds the process up. Now, I mentioned as well that I have a graphic that I would like to add, and so I'm going to come in and I'm going to insert that graphic, and you just have to remember where you placed it. And here's my graphic, and I'm going to add that. I need to give it a name. Well, there's already a name in the database for this graphic, and so I'll just use that because that's what we want to use as the reference to pull it in. You can have other information here, but one of the things that we want to talk about is how do you want to have it delivered. And there's a couple options here. One of them is embedded small graphic. So this is a small graphic. This is how we want it illustrated, and because this graphic is actually a lot larger, we're gonna add it so that it's about 25% of its original size. We don't need it to be huge in order to see it. So I've simply uploaded the graphic into the database, and I've added the topics. The next thing I need to do now is add the items. So I'll go back to my spreadsheet here, and I'll grab this information, and I will just copy it, and then I'll come here and I'll paste it in. Now, if you had things organized in a different format, you could certainly grab these names and you could change the order in which they appear, but I've already structured my information to be in this format, so I'm just going to come in and once again paste in the data, and once it gets to this point, it's already validated, so I'm going to save the data. Now, this is a staging area. This isn't actually the item banking system. This is a way to get it into the system, so I've almost pre-staged it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it for upload, and I'm going to give it a name so I can kind of keep track of it. And I can just take this name here and I can copy it, and then I could just easily paste it. The item status for this is it's a new item, and I'm going to once again copy this and paste it. The new item title is going to be the same as the one I entered it, but the system doesn't know that these titles exist, so I just have to copy this the first time into this title column, and you see it keeps the same structure. All of these are going to be approved, and the owner name here in this case is going to be Prov. And because I want to copy these at the same time, I will just copy both of these fields, and I will drag them down, and I will paste them. You can enter a workshop number simply to keep track of them if you're mixing the order of your spreadsheet, but it's unnecessary here. When I've got this data set, I can simply click import items, and now these items are being ingested into the database system itself. And when those have succeeded, I'll see an import date time, and I'll save it. So these items are now in the database. I can go to the item list and I can see, here's how the item shows up. Here's the correct key. Here's the graphic that I'd added. And if I actually went to this, I could see, yep, that's the graphic. And I've got the references and the domains. So I've got my items in my item banking system. The next thing to do is to build a test. So what I'm going to do is come in here and I'm going to select a company. Let's say I already have a test built. And here's a company name. Now this company has several tests already built. I could either go in and work on those, or I could just create a new one. And I create a new one by coming to the bottom of my list and just selecting an open row. And we'll just call this trees and nuts. And we'll give it an exam code. And we'll put a date in there. Really, these exam codes are more for you to keep track of the different tests that you have. This is an English test in English, and it is an exam. That's the structure. I'm going to go next step. And it follows really a wizard process. If I wanted to put pricing in here, I could. I could also have different rules for exporting or importing the test, and also check-in rules when somebody goes to take the test. I don't need to do that now. I can always come back and do that at a later point. Now I'm going to come in here, and we've got the name of the test. This is where we create the version. Over time, you're going to have version 1, 2, 3, and you would come here to add those new versions. I'm just going to put an end date in here of a little over a year into the future. I'm going to say that this is approved. I enter the amount of time that I want to allow candidates on this test. I'm going to say 60 minutes. I'm going to add a serial number. And so I'm going to create a new serial number for this exam, trees and nuts. And I'm going to pick a number. I could also pick letters. Actually, let me just do that. 88BC. And I'll start this version with A, and it starts at number 1. I'll return now. And in the future, if I wanted to call the same test the same name, I could just select it from the drop-down. But I just added something to the drop-down list that'll show up in the future. Uniform scoring, the cut score for this test is going to be 70. I have other options. For example, I could do scaling if I wanted, or if there's some other scoring mechanism, we could add that as well. So in essence, I have defined how the test is going to work. And now I'll come to blueprints. And this is where we add our topics and we tell the system how many questions we want from each of these areas. Well, I can go back to my topic code, and I'm going to do that here. And I'll just copy these topic names and return to my list. And I'm just going to paste them in. It automatically brings in the associated name with that topic. Now, on the right-hand side here is a subdomain. So we have a primary domain and we have a subdomain, which means that under each topic we can have subtopics. For our example here, we'll only have one subtopic for each topic, and it'll actually be the same name. But I'm just going to copy this here, and I'm going to paste this in, and I'm going to say I want one item. Now, I don't remember how many items I have for each, and I'll adjust that later on. But you'll notice as I move between these different topics, this changes because this has a parent-child relationship here. So I'm going to copy this, paste it, and add one item here. And I will copy once again. Paste, and tell that. Now it looks like I got the code wrong here. I'd already copied and added one to the wrong one. So sometimes you need to make sure you're in the right region. So fruits, leaves, nuts, seeds. All right, so we have each of these has a topic. Now I can click save here, and now I get to let the system do the work. I'm going to push this button, build item list. And as quick as that, what it's done is it's gone out and found every item that's tagged with these different codes. So if you come up here to the top, as I change these different codes, you'll see that the list down below is also changing. So let's go back here and we have 3 items here. Let's bring them all in. So I'll say 3, and then I've got 2, so I'll say 2. Actually, it has to actually be 2. I have 2 again, and then I've got 2 more. So I could have these be any number of these. If I only wanted a sample, certainly I would go fewer than this. The next thing I need to do is I need to approve these items. Now I could approve them individually by coming in here and marking them approved and going to the next subdomain, etc. But it's actually a lot quicker just to do them all at once. And so I'm going to click Approve Items, and it brings open a list that shows me all the items. And I can come in here and I can copy and then come down and paste this information. And then I'll just simply close that. Now, because this is a snapshot in the database, this information has not updated. So what I can do is I can simply requery the data, and now it's showing as accurate, showing the updated information. And now I'm ready to build a test form. And so I can push this button. The system is going to randomly assemble a test, and there's the questions that it's selected. I can say randomize the item order and approve this particular test. And now I have added items, I have built a test form, and I have approved, and I've actually approved the test,